Duck, you have walked these woods more days than nearly every other living human being. You've been doing this long enough that you've traversed all over, but for reasons beyond your understanding, you've never stood at this spot and seen this stone archway. It's a humble thing. It's just 2 slabs of solid stone with a third perched on top between them, kind of like the gates of Stonehenge. The moonlight is shining down on it as the moon sort of reaches its zenith overhead, nearly full. And the air is still again, save for the sounds of that enormous being that just attacked you in the distance, that's still sort of rooting through the woods. But it's pretty far off, that noise. And as you're looking at this stone gateway shining in the moonlight, that vision appears to you once again, and she's several feet away from you, and she's investigating this archway kind of curiously, and she says, "So this is your connection. Fascinating."
Sorry, I don't understand.
I think when you say that, you hear that monster, and now it's just a little bit louder, just a little bit closer to you. And you, this vision in front of you says, "You are not ready to face your destiny, Duck Newton, and yet you must. The people in the world beyond this gate will be your friends, regardless of what the people of your world try to tell you."
See, right now I'm in a bit of a pickle. I got appears to be some sort of monster, believe it or not, kind of bearing down.
Bearing down.
If you will. So I should just head on. Will the monster follow me through the gate? It just looks, I don't.
No, it wouldn't. And you just know that just because it's not big enough.
All right, well, that seems a good option as any. Do you have a permit for this, by the way, or?
I think she just disregards your question. She takes a moment, almost like she's trying to process what you just asked, but doesn't even understand how to begin answering that. And she says, "Enter the gateway, Duck Newton. You will be brave, Duck Newton. That is why you..." And then she's gone again, and it's just you and the gate and the monster in the woods behind you.
All right. I guess I run through the gate.
You hear the sound of the monster getting louder and louder, and you run toward this empty gate. As you do, the moon overhead reaches its absolute zenith, and where you could once see sort of the forest beyond the archway, now you just see this solid plain of dazzling white light. And it rattles you for just a moment, as do the sharp winds that are blowing away from the gate in every direction. But you continue your approach with your hand nervously outstretched, and your fingers graze the light. And then we see the woods from above, and we see this circle of light retreat inward almost as quickly as it appeared until it is no more. And then we see that clearing again, and the air is still, and the evening is quiet, and the archway is empty.
And she just kind of walks into the water and then just kind of stands there and tries to think how would Bait think?
I don't think you have to think that for very long. There are just a few moments of quiet that falls over the park, and then you all hear a deep groaning from the pipes below the park that reverberates up through the ground. And the floodlights shining down on the wave pool, they begin to flicker erratically, and then they turn back on as the pipes fall silent. And then a small ripple forms in the middle of the pool and lazily rolls outward towards its edges. And the ripple bounces off the perimeter of the pool and travels back to the center, where it collides into itself, sending a single small droplet of water into the air. And it hangs there for several seconds and then crashes back down into the water with a massive, continuous splash. And from this turbulence, an arm, thick as a truck and easily 8 feet long, pulls itself out of the water. And then another follows suit. and then the two arms hoist a massive school bus-sized watery torso out of the pool. And this vaguely humanoid shape pounds its enormous fist into the water, sending water cascading high into the air. And as it falls, the elemental, now towering over your party, begins lumbering towards you. Let's start with Aubrey. Aubrey, what do you do?
You are standing here idly watching nothing, I guess, eating your Slim Jims, your dumpster Slim Jim break. Ned, you absolute raccoon.
It's one of the 3-foot ones that you pick up. Yeah.
You are sitting there just kind of idly looking around, and you see what looks like this string of light that is just kind of hovering in the air, and it's super faint. You probably wouldn't have noticed it if you hadn't been standing here for a while and seen the light change as the clouds move overhead and notice this thing. And I think you only see it for a little bit, this little rift floating in the air. And as you start to approach it, something happens. You see this rift kind of just open up, just slightly, just a half inch. And behind it, you see an eyeball looking at you. And then just as quickly as you noticed it, it disappears.
Up.
Yeah.
And then it's hold on, let's deflate that real quick.
Well, this is where DJ's giving him a taste before the drop, and here comes the drop. A monster comes through.
Oh, no. Wait.
You
a bad
all,
monster?
Yes, you all are more or less trapped in this room as the one and only entrance into the morgue proper here slowly swings open from the front office. And a figure passes through that door. And there's something kind of familiar about the figure that comes through the door. It is a humanoid shape. It is a humanoid shape, albeit with 4 arms. And this shape is just made out of this tangible, brilliant light. Its head, or what you're assuming its head is, based on, where heads traditionally live, sort of cranes around to take you all in and ascertain the situation. And you're having some trouble actually seeing what this light person is doing, because the other thing about them that actually makes them different from the other beings like this that you've seen before is this one has this just kind of swirling cloud of particles going all around them. I say particles, they are visible to the naked eye. They are just these small sort of orbs of
like a nebula?
Kinda, you could describe it like that. There are different orbs of different shapes and sizes, behaving in sort of different ways. Some are sort of gelling together and then shooting new, particles off, and some are just neatly orbiting around each other, and some are just kind of ping-ponging around
like
this
a lava
cloud.
lamp.
Some of it is lava lamp-esque, but then some of it is also just maraca beans, and you don't usually see them, but what they would be doing. It is chaotic, and it is this cloud that is just surrounding them and kind of mimicking its movements as this light figure moves, just sort of cascading all around them, almost like armor or something like that. And this figure walks into the room and then reaches its arm backward with shocking force, with shocking speed, and slams the door of the morgue shut. And with that, I'm gonna ask you who wants to go first.
Ned.
All right, Ned.
Ned grabs a scalpel off one of the nearby examining trays.
Okay.
Fair.
And holds it to the throat of the corpse of Gregor Mortis and says to
Well, I was trying to think if we should make it into a roll, but okay, fine. The being reaches out its arm and lets go of its scalpel, which falls to the floor. And as it does, you can see actually, Duck, from your position, as it hits the floor, it just sort of effortlessly turns into these silvery spheres that sort of float around for a minute before getting just sucked up and reconstituted into the fake Gregor form. And as he does that, I think he starts approaching just with his hands outstretched, and now he is coming for you, Ned, and he's coming to hurt you.
Hey, could you not hurt Ned? maybe? Like, maybe we could talk, and it seems like maybe you want something?
Okay, its arms transform as they reach out towards you, and it is it's a disgusting transformation.
Got it.
Because all of this just sort of organic matter making this thing up just shifts around in ways that human bodies shouldn't be able to shift. Their like upper arm grows twice in length, and their hands bloom outward and reform into these long, bestial clawed hands. And he nearly doubles in height, and now standing before you is this hideous, tall, hairy creature that is just like covered in sores and just has this ghoulish, dripping animal.
You are standing here
smile,
idly watching nothing.
Its
I guess
feet
eating
are
your Slim
enormous,
Jims.
and
Your
I think,
dumpster
like,
Slim Jim
your
break,
brain tries to
Ned,
quickly
you
like say,
absolute
okay, what is this thing, Ned?
It's
What is
one
this
of the
thing?
like 3-foot ones.
It is.
that
Yeah, sure.
What you maybe
You
would have
are,
considered
sitting there
before
just
you
kind of
met
idly
the
looking
real
around,
deal.
and
It's
you
Bigfoot.
see what
And
looks
it's a
like this
Sasquatch,
like
a woodland
string
ape?
of
And
light that
yes,
is just
and,
kind of hovering
it
in
grabs
the
you,
air.
Ned,
It's
and
super faint.
chucks you. It throws you.
Probably wouldn't
against,
have noticed it
just
if you
backwards
hadn't been like
into one
standing
of
here
the,
for a while. and,
operating
you know,
tables,
seen the
and you
light
and
change as the clouds move overhead.
Not the one that Duck
and
is hiding
notice
under,
this
but you
thing.
and the body go
and
sort of
I think you only
tumbling
see it
over
for like
and
a
you
little
take one
bit. This
harm.
like little rift
Okay,
floating in
Aubrey
the air.
throws Snitch at it.
And
Okay.
as you start
Does
to
that
approach
act
it,
or kick some
something
ass?
happens. You
That definitely
see
kicks some
this
ass.
rift
Okay,
kind of just like
it's gonna end up being a 7.
open up, just like
Oh,
slightly,
you have a minus
just like
one
a
tough.
half inch.
Yes, I do.
And
Okay, I mean, that's
behind
still a
it,
mixed success.
You see an
So where are you,
eyeball looking at
where are
you,
you
and
trying
then
to, like,
just
hit?
as
What are
quickly
you
as you
trying to
noticed
Well,
it,
I figured
it
just
disappears.
I'm going for like back between the shoulder blades, you know?
Okay, yeah, it had its back turned to you as it picked up your friend and chucked him. Okay, what was the damage on that?
That's a good question, Griffin. So in gear options for Spellslinger, there is a 1 harm knife.
Yeah.
And I figure I don't have any pluses to the damage. It's the magic flying part that is the bonus, right?
Oh, it's a magic weapon.
Yeah, snitch.
Oh, okay. Here's what happens. I think one arm is. This is great. You throw your magic knife, and this Bigfoot creature screams, and not in like a bestial way. It's not like like you just stabbed into a bear. The scream is much smaller than that. It's much actually higher pitch than that, and honestly, it sounds almost vocodery. Like it sounds not Hatsune Miku, but you know, sort of along those lines. It is not the sound that you expected to come out of this thing, and you don't get like blood out of this creature. You just see the particles where the knife was just sort of burst outwards, and it gives the Bigfoot now time to reach back and pull the knife out of its back and drop it to the ground.
And I snitch back because it's a
And it
magic
zips
flying
back
knife.
to your hand.
Thank you, snitch. You are great.
It, in exchange, Aubrey, turns around with one of its massive clawed arms and just grabs you by the face and just slams you.
So the key card.
Yeah, you throw the key card across the room to Aubrey, and just as you do so, this thing just sort of melds around Beacon. Its feet, where its feet were, they just turn instantly into this cloud of particles, and you see the light form sort of effortlessly step out of the binding, and then the particles move back forward and their feet reform. And it happens so quickly that this thing just reflexively kicks backwards, which sort of moves the operating table that Duck is under. It sends it sliding towards the exit to the room. And it also propels it forward into you, Ned, as it turns on its heels and just charges right into you. Aubrey and Duck, what you see as this thing pushes into Ned, it almost looks like they were fighting in front of a backdrop for a play, like a paper backdrop that had been painted in the shape of this morgue, because they just puncture through your vision. They just puncture through whatever you can see, and a tear forms in just reality in front of you, and through it, behind it, whatever's beyond it, it seems like a very dark sort of space, but you only get like a flash of a second to look at it, because as soon as that happens, this thing pushes Ned through the rift and follows behind, and then the rift disappears.
Well, shit.
I want to jump cut to Ned real quick. Ned, you are having trouble telling if you are conscious or not. You can't really tell if you are dreaming or not. You're trending towards the latter because for one thing, you can't feel your body right now. And also, you are standing in a clearly virtual space. You are in just this huge empty void with this this grid of circuitry covering the floor, and every few seconds there is this circle of light that just kind of pings off of where you're standing, and it spreads. And at certain points where it intersects the grid, your circles of light that are coming out, you see your memories. You see familiar things. You see this, you see a vision of your third grade teacher dismissing the class to recess. You see
Mrs. D'Angelo?
Mrs. D'Angelo's class. You see the layout of your parents' bedroom and the house you grew up in. It's various things of almost all of them are inconsequential, and then you start seeing these little random bits of data that are actually way more sensitive. And I think one of those, the one that sort of takes your breath away a little bit, is the night of the robbery. And as you see it and are kind of confronted with it, it does what all the other memories have been doing. It kind of flashes and then turns into these just streaks of light that shoot upward and out to somewhere that you cannot see. And so you're standing there watching, unable to move, as these memories get more and more personal. You see the basement of Amnesty Lodge. You see its inhabitants, both in their disguised and true forms. And you feel your pulse quickening, which is the only thing you can feel right now. And then something appears that looks different from how these memories are represented. You see a panel, this blue square, this illuminated panel that pops up immediately in front of you. And there's a flashing white vertical bar on it, and you realize that it's a text cursor. And then slowly it types out a word. It types out pizza, then duck, and then run. And as that happens, you feel this electric shock at your neck, and as soon as it happens, that virtual space is just gone. It was being projected onto just this this dome of light that, as you regain your senses, you realize was coming out of this thing that you had wrapped around your neck that has been short-circuited, or something that has sort of released you from that whatever that virtual state is. And now you are just sort of standing in a room that is complete. You hear that song now, and it is like you are in a room where you're seeing it in concert. It is so loud. And then that pain in your head, it passes the point of human comprehension. And then suddenly you feel a sensation that no other living human has ever experienced. Your sight vanishes just instantly as this flash of pain just splits your mind in two. And you feel this feeling growing and buzzing now and moving. This pain is moving. It's stretching outward, out from your forehead. And then, just like that, it is gone. And your vision returns, and you see hovering just in front of you a small hole that is floating in the sky. And this four-armed being looks at it curiously, its head cocked to the side, and then it sort of takes a step backward into the antenna with clear alarm. And then it is thrown back, as you are, by this beam of piercing green light that bursts downwards through the clouds above into the antenna of the telescope. And this hole that just came out of you, it is crackling with this green energy, and it's expanding. And through that hole, Duck, you see something. You see a vision of these ruins, of these toppled pillars and collapsed walls and these obliterated pieces of large, inscrutable machinery, all of which are completely dormant except for one. And in front of that device, you see a shadow approaching faster and faster, and then she leaps, and she's here. She's holding this massive two-handed sword with both hands, and she's careening through the air before sliding to a perfect halt on these two large wooden sandals. And then she looks back over her shoulder at you, her real, tangible shoulder, and she says, "Thanks for the lift, Doc Newton."
I had it.
Well, what you're able to see, it is difficult to surmise, not because it is so like abstract and complicated, although it super is. It is so bright inside of this rift that it actually hurts to look at it. But what you see is a facility, like this enormous scientific facility from what you can tell. And it's largely comprised of like this one massive, tall, cylindrical chamber. And your vision through this rift, it's at ground level. And at the center of the chamber, you see this shallow dome of light that is super wide. It's several dozen feet in circumference. And from it, actually, even from the distance that you are at from it, you hear the same kind of like digitized buzzing language that this four-armed being appears to speak when you have heard it and it is shouted out in pain. And this dome is flanked by these rows of massive computers, and they're just roaring. You feel a tremendous amount of heat coming out of this chamber. But the displays on these computers have grown like dark green and dusty with disuse. And the other thing that you see is around the back wall of this chamber are these large cylindrical pods. And most of them are completely empty, but a few of them have figures floating in them. And from your position, you can kind of only see silhouettes, but while you can't surmise what they are, their silhouettes look unnatural. And in one of the pods, you actually see this mist coming out of these needles that are emerging from everywhere, and this mist is like stitching itself together to create one of these silhouettes. And then you look up from the ground floor, and your eyes can just barely take in what you see without just searing pain. You see beams of light, countless beams crisscrossing the walls of this chamber as it extends upward beyond what you can see. And each beam appears to be like projecting out of a large metal ring and then just crossing the length of the chamber before landing in a ring like directly across from it. And there's just hundreds of these beams, you assume, although they are far too like painfully brilliant for you to count. And you look over and you see Minerva, who is seeing the same things too. And then this four-armed being manages to shake off the sword and start to run forward. And then that dome at the center of the room, you see it like bubble upward, and then this shockwave bursts out of it, and you see it blow the dust upward from the machinery surrounding it, and the entire chamber shakes as this dome just screams, and then the shockwave passes through the rift and collides with the four-armed figure and just cuts it in half. And its two halves just float upward and disintegrate instantly like vapor, and the rift instantly disappears. And then you feel this like slight cool breeze coming across the pines where this crowd has gathered. This crowd that has just fallen absolutely silent. And all you hear is this wind, and it increases quickly and then dramatically, and then the crowd turns to face where it's coming from, and that is when the supersonic boom hits. And everybody assembled here is thrown to the ground, and a tree at the perimeter of the clearing is torn from the ground and topples over, very nearly missing the crowd. And then there's a sound that follows the boom, this sickening, deep, cracking noise that shakes the ground as it passes over you. And with that, like, the rest of the town's residents here, they fucking take off. They start sprinting toward the main road in fear, and you see Sheriff Owens look at Mama, and she nods, and Sheriff Owens takes off to make sure that everybody is accounted for. And then, Aubrey, the moon disappears, and the clearing goes dark, and you see blue smoke pouring upward from the source of this sound, and through it you make out the shape that has just blotted out the moon. It is a jagged, diamond-shaped rock that is floating weightlessly in the air. It's huge, just this 40-foot tall, monolithic rock. And through this thick blue smoke, you see actually something like sliding off of it, and it looks like snow. And that's when you realize what you're seeing floating in the air is the peak of Mount Kepler, which has been ripped from its base and is now hovering above the mountain. And this vision, it looks familiar because it looks like the image that was in the book that you delivered to Janelle. What do? You see a flash of green light above you, and the hairs on your neck stand up again, and you can tell that you are about to get tackled once more by the blink shark. What do you do?
I shut off my vapor suit.
Whoa. Okay. Are you...
Turn towards where, as near as I can tell, where the thing's coming.
Okay. While you are turning your body to face the blink shark, you are going to take some crushing damage as, like, the pressure that the suit was regulating is immediately snapped off. I'll be very kind and say, because, like, things are weird and compressed and strange, like, it's not like you are a mile beneath the ocean surface, right, because that would destroy your body completely. But you do take...
And we've got all these t-shirts.
Yeah. We have all these great ambergris t-shirts. But you take 10 points of crushing damage as you feel an incredibly bad thing. You feel the Ethersea on you and around you. The pressure is so sudden and so intense that, like, etherealizing that I described happening to Devo is already kind of happening to you. Like, you already see your hands, your flesh hands, becoming a little translucent. But you have turned, and now you can see the blink shark. And I will also give you this. It seems a bit surprised at what just happened.
I swim at it.
Oh, shit. Okay.
With my forearm extended in front of me.
Your forearm.
Like, pointed right at it. I'm swimming right at it with my forearm sort of in like a blocking pose, like dangling it right in front of me.
Which forearm?
My left forearm. I'm swimming with my left forearm in front of me, just pointed right towards his mouth.
Okay.
I'm still swimming at you.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is going to be another strength check, or a strength contest. I will give him disadvantage because what you are doing here is preposterous.
Okay. What's he doing? What's his reaction? I told
what
you
what
doing.
happens to him is he smiles and
cool.
gets ready.
I'm still swimming at him.
Okay. He is smiling wide, and he is just going to open his jaws and try and kill you and eat you.
Okay, I'm still swimming at him.
Okay. It wraps its jaws around you and is about...
I slapped the button to activate my vapor suit.
Okay.
Fuck you, bud.
Man, okay.
You're going Sheriff Brody on him.
No, I'm gonna slice his fucking head in half.
Yeah. All right. Fuck, man. It had its jaws around you when you slapped the button. And when you hit the button, like, it dispels all of the ether water in an instant. Like, it shoots it all out in a jet of bubbles. And so I think that there's, like, a bit of decompression that happens outside of the suit that blows this thing's mouth open a little bit, and you can see, like, its jaws tearing, and it is, like, kind of grotesque. But you also feel some wetness because you have, like, destroyed the bottom of this thing's mouth because you have sheared it off, essentially, and it is inside of the vapor suit with you. You feel pieces of teeth now just kind of, like, clattering around inside of your suit like a grotesque, like a holographic maraca. And when that happens, the blink shark, it screams in a way that is almost barely audible underwater. However, it is still going to slam into you with its, like, wrecked mouth. It's not going to damage you necessarily, but it is going to try and, like, tackle you and crush you into, like, the nearest thing that it can. And what that means is the floor below you. Because with this thing's like additional speed, it is pushing you downward fast enough that you can see the anomaly getting closer.
Haha, idiot.
And the shark is now like weaving around, trying to hold you in its like destroyed jaws. And just as it's about to slam you into a wall, there is a flash overhead, way overhead, like above the ravine. And then this ravine that you're in, it's almost like the walls close in an instant. And just as you think you're about to be crushed, they stop, but the ravine has shrunk. And you're not sure what else has shrunk. You're not entirely sure because you're a bit isolated down here. But the blink shark releases you because it has been trapped now. It is pinned in. It is crushed between two of these walls. And it almost looks helpless now. It is still, wide enough for you to be able to maneuver around. You have not been crushed, but whatever has happened here, when the ravine shrunk, it has pinned this blink shark in, and it looks almost helpless. It's at your mercy. What do you do?
Can I use a knife?
Sure. Off. It becomes lifeless, and then it does what all blink sharks do when they perish, which is they almost sort of implode, kind of like they teleport. They blink inward in a way until they just sort of vanish into nothingness. And that is what happens. And you were so focused on this blink shark that maybe you didn't realize it, but now you are very close to the anomaly. It is almost like it came